Hello and welcome to Business Today Television. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and you're watching our results coverage. With me now is Ankit Agarwal, the Managing Director of Sterlite Technologies. Welcome to the show, Ankit. We are discussing results that have come a few days ago, and I want to really start by asking you to tell our viewers what really contributed to the profitability that we saw in the first quarter. What were the key areas that you saw this profitability coming from?
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth, for having me on your show. So, STL, as you're aware, we're very focused on creating the digital infrastructure. We've been very focused on providing our customers with solutions for 4G, 5G, as well as looking very closely at creating large infrastructure for the government projects as well as for data centers. So these are the categories in which we've continued to pursue. We've had strong sales and continued sales in geographies like America, in Europe, and in our home market in India. What we had also guided the market towards the end of last results is we have seen some inventory build up by our customers, particularly in US. So to that extent, versus Q4 of last year, we've seen slightly lower volumes, and some of that we expect to continue in the quarter two as well. So overall, we continue to see strong demand. The underlying principles remain very strong. The driving factors remain the same. We have also seen a good development in US where they have recently announced a $42 billion program called BEAD, which is to connect underserved communities in the US. So that is a very interesting and exciting opportunity for us, which will create strong demand in US for next 5 to 7 years. On our services business, we continue to see strong opportunities in India with the private sector, with defense, etc. But we are also seeing a large opportunity north of $10 to $12 billion, which is the BharatNet opportunity. And as Minister Vaishnav has laid out, there will be connectivity provided to more than 3 lakh villages in India in optical fiber. And then lastly, we have a IT services business, which is STL Digital. There we are continuing to scale up. We have currently more than 900 crores of orders as open order book, and we're continuing to see how we can make that profitable by quarter four of this year.
Ankit, talking about the North American program that you just said, a $46 billion program, if I heard you right. For STL, what kind of opportunity does it likely present? How much of that do you expect to address over the next 5 to 7 years?
Yeah, good questions. So it's a $42.5 billion program, which is something that the government has committed and most recently even looked at a high level allocation across the states. And the way we've planned for it is already by setting up our manufacturing facility in the US to cater to the requirements across the states. So currently, as we stand today, we have between anywhere 10 to 12% market share of US. And clearly, with all these opportunities coming up in the government as well as in private sector with some of the operators, we do continue to believe we will hold our share and maybe even grow our share from there. One example I can share is we have recently signed a long-term agreement and a growth of our partnership with Windstream, which is a tier one operator in the US. And so we are very happy to sign that joint partnership and a growth of our partnership together, which is something we released publicly in the last few weeks.
Coming to BharatNet, and again, BharatNet has its genesis in ideas and plans that go back almost 25 years. There was at one time a proposal to hive off all the fiber from Bharat Sanchar and give it to a company founded by a US based NRI professor. But I'm getting into history. BharatNet, where does it stand today in terms of the ambitious plans that had been outlined, and consequently for your company, how significant an opportunity do you see it being over the next few quarters?
Yeah, so I think government is now looking at phase three of BharatNet, which is broadly to connect about 3 lakh villages on optical fiber. And the overall spend in terms of capex plus opex is for a period of around 10 years, and where the network would get built out in 3 years and then a maintenance after that. And clearly, this is a very large opportunity overall. It's a very important project as well, more importantly, because as our vision of Prime Minister's there for Digital India, this is really what ends up bridging that digital divide which currently exists in the country. So this will be a very, very important project. It will really help take the country forward, and that is really how we have the thought process that ultimately, from impact perspective and size perspective, we will certainly play a leading role in this project. Not only supplying of our fiber optics and cables, we will also take a leadership. We plan to take a leadership in the network deployment itself and maintenance of the project.
Okay, and the network deployment maintenance, what kind of revenue benefits do you see from that part?
So as I said, this is a 3 year in terms of execution and then a maintenance kind of format. So I think there are various packages in which the phase three will be broken up. So us and other players in the industry will take up. Hopefully, we will bid for, and there will be certain packages that will come our way. So based on, I think it's still early to say how all of that will pan out. But certainly, as I said, we see this as a nation building project. We are very keen to take the country forward. And BharatNet, we have participated. We continue to participate as we speak. Currently, we are deploying fiber optics in Maharashtra and Telangana. And our intent would be to continue to take a large and important role in the project going forward.
Ankit, what is the current price trend that we are seeing overall as far as optic fiber is concerned, and what's the outlook? Because that is one of the most key inputs in your business.
Absolutely, Siddharth. So what we have said strategically is that rather than selling the bare fiber, we are really moving actively to being more and more of a solution provider. And whether it's 5G or fiber to the home or data centers, we are very clear that our sales to our customers will be an end-to-end solution. So we have really focused on both increasing our cable sales to customers as well as increasing our what we call optical interconnect solutions to the customers as a package. So that's something that as we move more and more to solutions, we will find that we are able to secure long-term commitments from our customers, and we become their preferred partner. This is also on the back of significant investments which we have been doing over the years in creating our own IP. And very happy to share that we have more than 650 patents as an Indian manufacturer, which we apply locally and globally. And that's something that we are very proud of.
Okay, I want to come back to what all of this means for your future earnings growth. Give us a sense of what can we expect maybe a couple of quarters down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. That. So what we have felt it prudent to do at the end of Q4, we had guided the market that we will grow from a top line perspective between 10 to 12%. And we had shared at that point as well that we did see some concerns with the US market. So that has played out where we continue to see, inventories with some of the large customers in US, because of which new demand and new supply has come down. So we are tracking that closely, but we do believe this slowdown will continue in US for probably at least 1 or maybe 2 quarters. As a result of which we have reduced our forecast for the year, and now we see that at between 7 to 9% of revenue growth for the current year. Having said that, we are very focused on cash generation across our business units. So we're re-looking at our capex and other expenditures, and also looking very actively to reduce our costs of manufacturing. We have taken on board a tier one consultant as well to reduce our cost of manufacturing. With all of this, we do believe that we will reduce our net debt to EBITDA, which is currently north of 3, close to 3.5, and bring it to 2.5 by end of the year. So that is something that we are very focused on, not just on the top line, but very specifically on cash generation and improving our net debt to EBITDA ratio.
You said relooking at capex. What should we understand? Are you hinting towards a possibility of cutting back? What's the plan there likely?
So we are still working on the numbers. We are given the market dynamics. What I can share is broadly with our focus on the cash generation. This becomes a top priority at one level to really look at how do we make ourselves more operationally efficient and more cost efficient, and what's our cost to produce. And the second part is very specifically in terms of all the items of expenditure, including capex, opex, what is absolutely required versus what is nice to have. So those are the areas we continue to evaluate. We'll probably be able to give more of a guidance in another 2 to 3 months.
Okay. Overall, do you think that part of the softness, weakness that you are seeing in some markets is also to do with peak digital being crossed that we saw post COVID? Is it due to that, or is it due to what's happening in the broader economy in some of the markets that we just spoke about?
Yeah, very good question, Siddharth. So I think from my perspective, I would share some data points. One is globally, we are at about 1.1 billion 5G subscribers, which in my view has to get to 5 billion subscribers in the next 4 to 5 years. So clearly, multi-fold growth on 5G subscription has to happen. That will only happen when all our towers globally, at least 70 to 80% of them are connected on optical fiber. In India, for example, we are still at only 35% of our towers are backhauled on fiber, which clearly has to go to 70-80%. So I think that's the second part is there's still majority of the tier one countries, including US, Germany, of course, India, Australia. Many of these countries have only 30 to 40% of the homes connected on fiber. And so that's the second shift that will clearly happen. And third is clearly a massive explosion of data centers, not only in India, but globally, that we will continue to see, both in terms of large data centers as well as edge data centers. So we continue to be quite bullish in terms of next 5 to 7 years. And the last part is tier one, governments putting in large investments to connect the unconnected, which has also got accelerated by COVID. So when we look at all of these, targets, we clearly are confident that next 5 to 7 years there'll be strong demand for the optical fiber.
What about India? I just want you to expand on that, because on one hand we are seeing broadband, broadband expand slowly. Wireless broadband is obviously the bulk of the market, but if you move away from the top tier cities, when it comes to rural India, it's still a bit patchy despite BharatNet. How would you describe the scenario going forward as far as India getting connected with good backhaul networks?
Yeah, I think I would categorically say this is a top priority both for telecom operators, independent internet service providers like ACT, Fastway, etc., and equally for the government. There's, making sure that BharatNet gets executed at scale, as well as the network itself gets utilized, is a top priority for the government, which I think is right on the button. I think we still continue to face challenges in terms of execution on the ground because of right-of-way permits, getting forest clearance, getting railway clearance. These are the things which typically hinder the speed of execution. So that I'm confident with the efforts of Department of Telecom and the ministry. There's a lot of work going on between center and state to simplify the approval process, and which will then further accelerate the deployment. But if you look at the operators as well, Jio has gone out to say they will connect 100 million homes. Airtel has set a target, I think, between 40 to 50 million homes. So I think clearly even the tier one operators are looking outside of the tier one cities to get more and more people connected on their wired broadband. And certainly, I think in the next few years, you will see that 60-70% of our towers across India will be connected on high-speed optical fiber.
Ankit, a question outside the ambit of the conversation we've been having. Do you see independent ISPs having a long-term future in India?
Yes, I think definitely if you see the success of some of the players, as I said, ACT and a few others, I think there is a role for some of these players. They have to scale up and they have to compete with the telecom operators. As I said, I think one of the biggest challenges is the execution on the ground. So independent companies that are able to have high quality execution across cities in India, there will definitely be a play. And at some level, I think the operators are looking to share the fiber networks as well. So I think that is also an interesting opportunity where, and you see this globally with companies like OpenReach and others in the world, where you will find neutral networks being set up and then internet service providers riding on top of it. And really, BharatNet as well is exactly in that domain where the capex could be spent by the government, but then would the fiber would be made available for various internet service providers to provide services.
All right. One final question, and this is to those investors, retail shareholders who might be looking at the earnings and how the stock has performed. What's your message going to be to them?
I won't be able to say something specific. I mean, I would say that, I think we are definitely very focused in what we do. We are very clear in terms of creating a massive digital infrastructure. I think there are great tailwinds from a macro perspective, and we have a great team in place to execute. So I would say we have, very good execution capability. And as the demand pans out, I think STL will certainly stand to benefit.
Absolutely, and as demand pans out, that's what a lot of investors will also be looking forward to. As always, Ankit Agarwal, pleasure talking to you. With that, it's a wrap on this decoding of what Sterlite Technologies is going to be up to in the remaining part of the year. If you've been, thank you very much for watching.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.